Elon Musk is one of my favorite celebs, and watching some of his videos recently, it's come to my attention that he has almost certainly had a hair transplant, and likely more than one. So in this video, I'm going to go through Elon Musk's hair transplants, when he likely had them, what medications he's probably taking alongside that, and how much this would have all cost him. If you don't know who I am, my name is Saramed, and I'm a doctor working in London. I make videos on celebrity health so we can learn from their health choices and the things that are going on with them. So if that's something you're into and you want to learn more and advance yourself, then hit subscribe so you can stay informed. I think Elon Musk's hair transplant journey becomes very obvious when you look back at what he looked like in the 1990s. He was in his late 20s working for PayPal, and you can see he began thinning right there at the temples, and you can see that thinning goes back quite a considerable amount. Now, it's likely in his early 30s, probably after he sold PayPal and got a big payout, he had his first hair transplant. That's when this scar of the FUT started just on the back of his head, which we'll go through what that is a little bit later. And you can see that he has much fuller hair appearance there on the front of his head, and he still has some thinning and some emptiness of that spot. And then I think he went ahead in around 2009 to this photo where actually his plastic surgeon has done a really good job. You can see that there's quite a lot of thick hair, there's really good density around the area, there's no residual evidence of surgery except for the hair quality and style, which nobody can really get rid of. But this has progressed into recent years, and actually he has what looks like a really healthy, natural head of hair, which looks like probably what he was having really in the early 20s. So what procedure did he have? What are the options? What medical treatments is he taking alongside that? I think that's all really interesting to know. And this scar around the side of his head really is a telltale sign of all of those things. You can see it in a few different angles with his interview with CBS as well, and where he wears the side and back of his hair quite short, it shows through. So that scar is from a procedure called FUT, which is follicular unit transplantation. It's one of two types, with the alternate being follicular unit extraction, which we'll go through in a little bit later. So the follicular unit transplantation helps to maximize the number of hair follicles that you can survive when you move them into the donor region. And that means over a lifetime of someone's transplant, so over 2, you might be able to get up to about 7,000 grafts, where with the different type, the follicular unit extraction, you might only be able to get 5,000 to 6,000 at maximum. Obviously, the more grafts you get, the more dense the area looks, and if you have some loss of the donor hairs, then there'd be less likely to be the appearance of a bald patch or thinning of the region, which is the whole reason why people did the hair transplant in the first place. So that's not a desirable look, of course. So where do they get that hair from, and where does that scarf come from? Well, they basically take a strip from the back of the hair and they cut it out, and then they sew both of the bits of hair together so that it just makes one clean line, which usually heals quite nicely, and you can hide cosmetically just by growing the back of your hair. But we can see that Musk sometimes likes the mohawk appearance, being the edgy man who pushes things to their boundary, and so obviously he's shown us that scar a few times. The reason why he went for that is probably because it can have better aesthetic results at the front, and the other option he would have been given would have been more single hairs being pulled out one by one and leaves like white dots as scars around the back of the head. You can see in this picture what that appearance would have looked like if he had that kind of surgery, which Musk clearly does not have. So some people do opt for that type of surgery, especially in more recent years from 2010 onwards, but follicular unit transplantation was much more common back when Musk had his transplantation, certainly pre-2010, around the early 2000s and late 90s. So the medical therapy is quite critical, because when you transplant a hair follicle to a new area, it needs to survive. And the hair loss that we see on Musk is clearly caused by male pattern baldness, which is a sensitivity to DHT, which is a type of testosterone that affects hair. So if you don't get rid of that sensitivity, it's like, imagine a burglar keeps robbing your house and you just restock everything for him without fixing the front door. You need to be able to get that security to keep your items before you refill your house, otherwise they're just going to be taken from you, and the medical therapy helps to shut that front door by reducing sensitivity to DHT and stimulating hair growth. And respectively, that would be with finasteride and minoxidil. And so those treatments come in different formulations. You can get them as a tablet, finasteride, but that does have a lot of side effects. And now, slowly, they are becoming a treatment that you can just put onto the head, and also minoxidil, which is a foam or a spray that you can also put onto the head. It's usually very well tolerated. And so it's almost certain that Musk is using those as well on advice of his physician, because he probably doesn't want to go through another hair transplant, especially after paying for the ones that he did. They must have been expensive because they are very high quality, and I can estimate that it would cost in the region of $30,000 to $35,000 to have all the work that Musk has had on his hair, which in the UK would be about, let's say, $20,000 to £27,000. The pound seems to be getting weaker against the dollar, unfortunately, nowadays. But I think Musk does look great, and he needs to, running all of his companies. He has to be on top form, and he's obsessed with taking us to Mars. So why have his head look like a planet when he can take us out there to them with all of his rockets? So I hope you found this video interesting and educational. If you are interested in getting some medical therapy for hair loss yourself, I use a particular website called suns.co.uk, the minoxidil finasteride topical formulation, because the finasteride, when being given just on the head, has less side effects. So I will pop my referral link in the description below. You get 30% off if you use that. So feel free to do so, particularly if you're in the UK. You might still be able to order from the US, but I hope you stay healthy and stay happy, and I will see you in the next video. I'd love to hear your comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, you may enjoy the one on Elon Musk's Asperger syndrome, which you can find just over here. Take care.